Well, Richard Edelman will tell you PR is what we do. I would tell you communications is what we do. So, and I don't know that we differ in what we do, maybe just the way we describe it. Because I view communications as this broader envelope of which public relations work and media relations work and stakeholder work and survey work and and consulting is all part of what we do. So to me, at its simplest form, what we do is help organizations understand who and what they are, distill that into very understandable and rememberable positioning, and then communicate that to all the stakeholders through all the channels that we have at our capabilities. So our job is to help an organization present itself in the best possible light to everyone who touches it. If you want to have good teams, always hire people smarter than you. Don't be afraid of other people's skills and talents. In fact, you want people who are just much better than you are. Don't be afraid to give your people visibility throughout the organization. People who do good work deserve to be recognized for good work, and you shouldn't stand in their way. I think the worst thing for someone with an organization is to position themselves as the really sole conduit of information about that organization. When I worked for Dick Brown at EDS, he used to say, if your people come up with something and you're letting me know, I know that they're your people. That's all I need to know. And he's right. I mean, the same thing with Neville Isdale at Coca-Cola. Neville always knew who did the work. But he always knew that they were part of an organization that I was leading. So allow your people to have visibility. Don't be afraid of giving them that ability to do that. I think you also need to be very clear about what their responsibilities are and then get the heck out of their way. So we used to talk about define the sandbox, and your people know that as long as they're working right inside that sandbox, they're empowered to do whatever they think they need to do. It's only when you get to the edges of the sandbox, when it's bumping up against somebody else's sandbox, or you need to partner with somebody else, that you look for some guidance. And that's what then the next level of management is all about. But by having a defined space of work and being totally empowered in that space of work, your people can go off and do great things. And often they'll come up with ideas that are way outside their sandbox, and they'll share them. But the main thing is they feel empowered to do the work. So it's hire better, smarter people than you. Don't be afraid to let them have visibility around the organization. Praise them as loudly as you criticize them. And some would say that since I'm loud in either direction, at least then that's a balance. Empower them. Find ways to empower them that give you a comfort level, because at the end of the day, it is a benevolent dictatorship. It's not, everyone doesn't get to vote. But if you can give them a place where they know they're empowered to do their work, and you know that where the limits are and where you start reaching out for help or counsel, you'll find your people just go off and do great things. Storytelling was not my idea. Storytelling came from work that the internal guys were doing and had a thought about another way to approach it. So, and it ended up being a great process for us to use at EDS. So, I think it's that. Get good smart people, give them clear places and lots of empowerment. Make them very visible. Be loud in your praise as well as your criticism. And always have their back. Always have their back. The flip side of letting everyone have visibility is if anything goes wrong, they never take the hit, or they at least never take it alone, because that's when you are the leader. So if you empower your people and you know where they're going, and for some reason that particular project doesn't go well, and there's a price to be paid for it, you stand there in front of them because it's your organization, and you never ever leave them alone, and you never ever let them take responsibility for it. That way they know you have their back. On the odd times that things go wrong, they know that there's someone there. Therefore they'll be less scared to try new risky things. And they know if things go right, people will understand who did the work. I think if you do that, you get good organizations that do good work and are very effective for their larger organization. I've always looked to hire individuals who have spent some time in the media. In the old days, it was, were you a newspaper journalist? But today it's pretty expansive. But I do look for people who have been the conveyors of news, because I really think you can't do our job unless you understand the other side of the equation. Our work only happens as something of a partnership with whatever media you're using, even as we get more digital. It is true that digital capabilities allow you to flow around traditional media, but increasingly they're flowing into digital media. So today, when I'm looking at bringing somebody on board, I like someone who's studied journalism or mass communications, because their writing skills are a little crisper. I also like lawyers. If you get a good lawyer who can think and write crisply, it's a good basis, I find, for what we do as well. But having a basic training that allows you to understand a story, because our job is to take information, usually about subjects that we are not trained in, and get ourselves up to speed to gather that information and synthesize it in such a way that you can then present it to a whole lot of people who aren't trained in the subject matter, and have them understand it, make it an understandable experience for them. So you really want people who are trained to do that, which is why lawyers sometimes, a legal training helps. But if you were trained as a journalist, whether you applied that trade in a written format or a broadcast format or a digital format, that's the training you need, that ability to gather a lot of information from disparate sources, understand it well enough to put it together in a fashion that then is understandable for others. So that's what you look for. There's a whole different mindset. I mean, I do sit back at 63 and worry that I can stay active. Thank heavens I have children who are 18 to 23 who sort of keep me plugged in a little bit. But and I have good young people who work for me. So for me, I view the relationship as student-learner both ways. I can help younger people set things in a deeper, broader context. They can help me understand how to use current tools more effectively to do what I want to do. And really what I try to do in any team that I put together is get some people who are strong storytellers, get some people who are great social media folks, and have each train the other in their expertise. So the social media person may never be the world's best storyteller, but they'll understand. And the storyteller may never be the best social media expert, but they'll understand. And they start using each other's talents more effectively, and that broadens the base. So I think storytelling is critical. I think there are actually ways to tell stories in 140 characters that at least tease you to someplace else. There's certainly the ability to link, to tweet and link and a larger, more in-depth piece, be it a video piece or a print digital piece. And there are sites that allow for deeper storytelling. So I think it's going to remain a critical skill. I do think it's something that many people talk about and few people really spend the time with. And more people need to do that, because in order to have long-term impact, so that you're not playing Groundhog Day every time something comes up, you have to set a base, and you can only set a base with deeper content. Otherwise, you tweet yourself away, you spin off on the current event, you don't have any context for it. If people only know of you from a tweet around a current event, it's like Groundhog Day. As it pops up, you answer it, and it pops up over here and you answer it, and it pops up over here and you answer it. But if you've managed to set yourself a base where people see your organization in any social media context, but they already have an idea of who you are and what you stand for, they're going to come into that discussion with a better preconception of who you are. If you don't do that, they'll come in with a preconception based on that immediate comment. As I said, I think we're still learning, and I think this has a long way to go. It's sort of like, so Mr. Gutenberg, what do you think you print after the Bible? I mean, we'll see where it goes. And I don't have an answer for that. Facebook certainly, has a tremendous impact on society today. It's hard to see that passing away in just a few years, in a 5-year time span. But hey, people thought Yahoo was a gigantic force. So the great thing about technology is that it keeps changing and new things come up. The bad thing about it is we tend to chase the technology and forget about the content. And self-propagating content is important. That's what Facebook is all about. Facebook doesn't care what the content, doesn't have to worry about making the content, because it's just providing the venue to distribute the content. But I think down the road it's going to offer us even more opportunity to bring people directly into us. And once they're here, you still need to have a message. You still need to have a story. So what I keep preaching is, the upcoming generations, please help me understand how the technology is moving and changing and what capabilities that gives me. And in return, I'll keep reminding you that you still need to have a good, solid story to tell. And you still have to have a point of view. What I've always said to all of my people is, you need to have a point of view. If you want a seat at any table, you need to have a point of view. You need to come there with an informed, data solid point of view, so that you can argue your position. Now, you may not always win, but you'll probably impact that discussion. And in the broader sense, you need that as well. You need to come to the table with a point of view that's informed, and then allow for serious discussion.